Sebastian, you're killing me. What is down here?
Surprise.
Oh!
Whoa.
Stop. What? It's a tunnel. Are you kidding me?
Deep in the Owl Mountains of Poland, beneath layers of earth and forest, something long forgotten has been unearthed. A Nazi bunker, sealed since the 1940s, has finally been discovered. What lies inside is more than just decaying walls and rusted relics. It's a preserved vault of secrets. The structure lies just beyond the recorded perimeter of Project Riese. But this entrance was never officially documented. It appears to have vanished from history until now.
The Nazis built a vast network of tunnels that spread all throughout Germany, Austria, Poland, even France and Czechoslovakia.
What secrets did this forgotten bunker conceal? And why were they deliberately left to fester in obscurity all these years? Stay with us as we delve deeper. The discovery. Before Allied bombs lit up Berlin in the 1940s, Hitler and his inner circle knew they needed a fallback fortress, both invisible and indestructible. A future where the Third Reich could live on, beneath the earth, in a fortress of tunnels and steel buried deep within the Polish mountains. That's when Project Riese was born. It was more than a military shelter. It was a vision of survival. A last stand. A new seat of Nazi power buried in the Polish mountains, hidden from the world above. And it became one of the most ambitious and disturbing construction efforts of World War II. And then came the detail no one expected. Launched in mid-1943, the project was shrouded in total secrecy. The Nazis mobilized thousands of concentration camp prisoners, many from the Gross Rosen camp, located nearby to carve vast tunnels through solid granite. It consisted of 7 underground structures in the Owl Mountains and Książ Castle in Lower Silesia. A once luxurious estate rumored to have been earmarked as Hitler's personal bunker, which was then Nazi Germany and is now Poland. This wasn't a makeshift bunker. Some historians estimate it could have accommodated tens of thousands of personnel, with space for command centers, artillery stores, and even aircraft parts. There are many theories about the true purpose of Project Riese. Some suggest that it was intended as an underground military command center, while others believe it was to be a factory for the production of advanced weapons or a research facility for developing new technologies. Some even suggest that it was intended as a secret underground city or a bunker for high-ranking Nazi officials. However, none of these theories has been conclusively proven, and the true purpose of Project Riese remains a mystery. The exact purpose of the project is not known, but it is believed to have been a complex of underground facilities, including factories, research centers, and military command centers. The project was named after the German word for giant because of the large scale of the construction. The construction work was done by forced laborers, prisoners of war, POWs, and prisoners of concentration camps, and many lost their lives, mostly as a result of disease and malnutrition. Despite its scale and ambition, the complex was never completed. With the Red Army advancing in early 1945, construction abruptly ceased. Many tunnels remained unfinished and unconnected. Documentation was minimal to non-existent. Most original blueprints were lost or destroyed as the German command scrambled during the final months of the war. And here's where the trail takes a dark turn. Deep in the forests of Poland, near the Owl Mountains in Lower Silesia, explorers stumbled across a camouflaged entrance hidden beneath decades of overgrowth. They weren't looking for a conspiracy theory. They found one anyway. Locals had whispered about Nazi activity in the area, but no one had ever proven anything. The entrance led to a sprawling, underground complex connected to Project Riese, the mysterious and unfinished Nazi construction effort from World War II. The bunker had concrete walls thicker than bank vaults, rusted, but still intact communication lines, and doors that had been welded shut from the inside. Creepy? Absolutely. Coincidence? Not likely. But it's what they found inside that turned this from a historical curiosity into a full-blown international scandal. As the excavation team approached the hatch, it was already clear this wasn't just another wartime bunker. The iron door, half swallowed by roots and time, bore markings faint but unmistakable. The double lightning bolts of the SS barely visible under decades of rust. It took hours of cautious cutting to breach the entrance. No one was certain what would greet them on the other side. Poison gas? A booby trap? Nothing at all? Instead, what they found was silence. Cold, undisturbed air. A corridor of crude concrete untouched by sunlight in nearly 8 decades. And deeper in, past the second blast door, beneath a concrete arch etched with initials and numbers, was something that stopped them cold. It wasn't just relics or rusted equipment. It was a space that looked prepared, preserved, as if someone had left it ready for a return that never came. Sealed behind iron and stone was something no official archive had ever mentioned. No tour guide had ever alluded to it, and no one was supposed to find it. That's when the cameras were turned off, and that's when the questions began. What was hidden inside that never made it into the blueprints? What was this tunnel really for? And why, nearly a century later, does it feel like someone still doesn't want it known? Let's find out more. The hidden chapters of Project Riese. Project Riese can be accessed through 7 different entry points found at Walimzeczka, Jugovic, Włodarz, Sobon, Ramenberg, Sokolec, Osówka, and Książ Castle, with some tunnels which are inaccessible due to the hardened brick used to create a barricade, while some are flooded. Some tunnels have no end in sight, hence they lead to nowhere. Inside the mountainous tunnel you will find traces of uncompleted military barracks, warehouses, bunkers, building materials, and excavated matter. The rooms in the bunker were filled with medical instruments, bizarre ones, scalpels, syringes, even early prototypes of what appeared to be mind control or behavioral conditioning devices. If that sounds like a plot from Indiana Jones, you're not far off, because some theorists suggest this bunker may have been an experimental command center, a place where science and the occult horrifyingly overlapped. Even in the hard lines of concrete and steel, the Walim tunnels hold echoes of something far stranger than wartime logistics. For decades, the Riese complex has stirred more than just archaeological curiosity. It has ignited some of the most persistent and bizarre legends in modern history. And at the center of them all is one name: Die Glocke. Roughly translated as the bell, Die Glocke refers to a rumored Nazi superweapon, allegedly developed in the final years of the war under the command of SS General Hans Kammler, a figure whose fate remains suspiciously undocumented. According to fringe historians and theorists, this bell-shaped device was said to generate high-intensity electromagnetic fields. Nick Cook, in his book, described Igor Witkowski's claims of a device called the Bell, engineered by Nazi scientists, that was a glowing, rotating contraption, rumored to have some kind of anti-gravitational effect, be a time machine, or part of an SS anti-gravity program for a flying saucer. Others insist it was part of a failed time travel experiment. A few go even further, describing human test subjects exposed to the machine's energy fields never returned from the experiment in quite the same shape. Mainstream historians have long dismissed these claims, citing a lack of physical evidence and Witkowski's reliance on unnamed sources. At first glance, the discovery of a sealed Nazi-era tunnel near Walim might seem like just another historical curiosity, an eerie relic from a war-torn past. But beneath the moss-covered hatch and rusted iron lies something far more urgent, a web of unresolved dangers, political tensions, and silent controversies that stretch into the present day. The line between historical curiosity and conspiracy theory is often razor thin. But within the walls of the Walim Tunnel, where blueprints run out and radiation spikes remain unexplained, even the most rational minds admit something about this site defies easy explanation. Whether D Glock was a genuine prototype, an elaborate hoax, or the fever dream of a collapsing regime desperate for a miracle, one fact remains chillingly clear. There are corridors in this mountain that no map records, and perhaps for good reason. And yet cracks remain. Long before the discovery rocked the internet, the truth was already buried on paper, in fragments, and beneath layers of granite in the Owl Mountains of Poland. In theory, we've known for decades where these tunnels are. But a new, rusted hatch was discovered near the village of Walim, and something didn't add up. During the war, the Nazis looted occupied territories, plundering palaces, art galleries, and museums, and also dispossessed Jews of their property and possessions. As a result, the regime accumulated vast wealth. In the closing chapters of the war, many of the looted objects were transported by train to underground mines, tunnels, and secluded castles. And for decades, it was whispered about in hushed tones, about an armored Nazi train, allegedly loaded with looted gold, priceless art, and secret documents, buried somewhere beneath the mountains of southwestern Poland. Even more intriguing is how this lines up with ground-penetrating radar, GPR scans taken years earlier during Poland's infamous Nazi gold train incident. In the summer of 2015, treasure hunters Piotr Koper, Poland, and Andreas Richter, Germany, shocked the town when they claimed to have located the train. The Polish government initially scoffed, then sent in the military. Excavations were launched. The train, famously, was never found. Historians say the existence of the train, which is said to have gone missing in May 1945, never has been conclusively proven. Polish authorities, nonetheless, have seemed eager to pursue any chance of recovering treasures that have sparked the imaginations of local people for decades. At the height of the frenzy last year, the World Jewish Congress reminded Poland's authorities that, in the case of a discovery of a treasure-laden train, any valuables belonging to Jews killed in the Holocaust must be returned to their rightful owners or their heirs. Legend holds the train was armed and loaded with treasure and disappeared after entering a complex of tunnels under the Owl Mountains, a secret project known as Riese, which the Nazis never finished. The Polish government made several searches funded by the government and private financiers, but there was no sign of the train. Instead, the radar data they uncovered showed multiple voids, subterranean anomalies, that didn't correspond to any official wartime records. One of those voids was detected less than 5 kilometers from where the hatch was uncovered. At the time, this anomaly was dismissed as natural geology. Though no train was found, the findings confirmed the existence of uncharted underground chambers, sparking speculation and renewed interest in the Riese complex. After the scans, several nearby tunnel sites were classified as restricted areas due to structural instability, but no official follow-up geophysical studies have been released to the public. Today, it appears to have been the edge of something hidden all along, a sealed tunnel system never mapped, never spoken of, and never meant to see daylight. But not just tunnels were hidden. Add to this the enduring secrecy of Kammler's fate. In the final months of World War II, as Allied forces advanced on Nazi-occupied Europe, chaos became a strategy. Entire convoys of documents were burned. Construction sites were sealed with concrete, and key figures either fled or disappeared. One of the most consequential of these figures was SS General Hans Kammler, the man many historians credit with supervising some of the Third Reich's most secretive engineering projects, including the vast underground complexes tied to V-weapons and defense manufacturing. Kammler's connection to the Riese tunnels is not speculative. It is part of the known administrative record. He was the head of construction for the SS and the central authority overseeing forced labor deployments through the organization TOT, which managed work in the Owl Mountains using prisoners from nearby Gross Rosen concentration camp. But what's still not fully understood is just how many plans died with the regime's collapse. The uncertainty deepens around Kammler's own fate, though several wartime documents suggest he died by suicide in May 1945. The lack of a body, grave, or universally accepted documentation has left historians debating the matter for decades. Some argue he may have died in the chaos. Others speculate he was spirited away, along with his knowledge, to work undercover just as other Nazi scientists, like Werner von Braun, were absorbed into defense programs. But crucially, no evidence confirms any post-war survival or conspiracy. What remains is simply a blank space in the historical record, which gives us a clue of how many stories, secrets, and blueprints disappeared into the dust of 1945. And so, when new chambers like the one in Walim are uncovered, they don't just open a door underground. They open a door back into that chaos, a time when even the highest-ranking officials could vanish, and where tunnels may still be hiding what was once considered too important or too dangerous to preserve. And that raises the question, how many more ghost tunnels lie beneath the mountains? How many were built and then buried, not by nature, but by men who wanted them to vanish? Fast forward to today, and the danger isn't just historical. A lurking danger, unexploded ordnance and instability. Poland is no stranger to the remnants of war. Even now, more than 80 years after the Second World War, unexploded ordnance is routinely discovered in fields, forests, and construction sites. The Owl Mountains, where the Riese tunnel system was constructed using forced labor from Gross Rosen subcamps, are known to be especially hazardous. The tunnels weren't just empty corridors, they were military zones. Ammunition, demolition charges, and volatile fuel stores were often hidden within them. Many hastily abandoned as the Red Army closed in. Some were even intentionally rigged to collapse if discovered. The newly uncovered tunnel outside Walim lies in a sector not covered by official blueprints, meaning its structure has never been professionally mapped. The risk of encountering unexploded devices or structural failures is very real. That's why, following its discovery, the area was swiftly sealed by local authorities and placed under restricted access until a military ordnance inspection could be carried out, standard practice in a country still littered with deadly relics from its past. Beyond the physical danger lies a bitter ideological divide between groups with very different visions of how history should be handled. On one side are government heritage institutions, historians, archaeologists, and archivists tasked with preserving Nazi-era sites responsibly. On the other are private individuals, many of them amateur historians or so-called treasure hunters who believe too much of this history is being buried, literally and bureaucratically. After the highly publicized Nazi gold train incident in 2015, Poland's government swiftly tightened cultural property protections. At the time, Deputy Culture Minister Piotr Żukowski openly urged amateur treasure hunters to halt their search, emphasizing that any excavation needed to go through official heritage procedures to avoid damaging or illegally removing valuable artifacts. The updated laws make it clear any object of historical value discovered underground, regardless of its nature or location, is state-owned. Unauthorized excavation is illegal, even on private land. For many independent researchers, this has created an atmosphere of suspicion where the government is viewed not as a steward of the past, but as an obstacle to discovery. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this modern-day mystery is the silence. Months after the tunnel's discovery, no formal report has been released. No press conferences have been held. Journalists from the Lower Silesian region have filed public information requests regarding the excavation, but few have received responses. Though not necessarily a sign of wrongdoing, the lack of transparency raises uncomfortable questions about what else may lie beneath the soil and beyond public knowledge. This unease is not new. In the past, both German and Polish authorities have been slow to release full documentation related to Riese, particularly blueprints believed to be tied to sensitive military or scientific operations. Some historians speculate this discretion may be tied to broader post-war tensions, unacknowledged Soviet looting, unresolved property restitution claims, and the murky role of Nazi collaborators in the region. In this context, the Walim Tunnel is more than just a buried corridor. It is a fissure in the official story, showing that the past has not yet released its grip. What lies inside may prove dangerous, but what remains outside, in silence and secrecy, could be just as potent. What began as an overgrown hatch in the Polish forest has become something far more unsettling, less a discovery than a reminder. That beneath our feet lie chapters of history, deliberately hidden, hastily buried, and still radiating tension decades later. The tunnel at Walim isn't just concrete and shadows. It's a scar, a mark left by a regime obsessed with secrecy, power, and control. One that weaponized architecture as much as ideology. And while the rusted blast doors have been opened, what's been revealed inside remains cloaked in silence. We don't yet know the full extent of what lies within those corridors, but we know this. The discovery has reignited old tensions between truth and myth, preservation and exploitation, silence and disclosure. It has stirred rumors of forgotten weapons, occult experimentation, and the terrifying efficiency of an empire built on death. But it has also forced a question. How much of the Nazi legacy is still buried beneath Europe's forests, mountains, and towns, untouched, unspoken, and waiting? And perhaps more importantly, who gets to decide what stays buried? In the end, this is more than a story of war. It's a story of what history chooses to remember and what it tries to forget. The past is not dead. In places like this, it hasn't even stopped breathing. What do you think of this? If this was just one hidden tunnel, how many more are out there, untouched and unspoken of? Drop your opinions in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it